So we've been wondering, are we going to have witnesses? Oh, maybe Susan Collins and Mitt Romney and all of them will do the right thing. No, there's no witnesses and there's no evidence because the greatest deliberative body in the world isn't interested in finding out the truth of what actually happened with Donald Trump in Ukraine. Not interested in any of that. So we did find out earlier today that Mitt Romney was going to vote for witnesses. That's great for Mitt. And Susan Collins did too. Once it became clear to her that she would be able to vote in favor of them without any witnesses actually being called. Isn't that an amazing little trick that they can do? She's gonna be able to go back home and pretend that she was reasonable, but she waited until the last minute to announce it, until it was already proved that we weren't going to have witnesses. I think she was worried about ads being run against her. There better be ads run against her for this cowardly move. Almost worse than what we thought was gonna happen with her.
Yeah, I mean, what they call that is a hall pass. So Mitch McConnell knew he had 53 votes in the Senate among Republicans. He didn't want to leave it to John Roberts to have to make a decision at all. So he had 2 hall passes, and he gave one to Romney and he gave one to Collins, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's how this works. I mean, you know.
Well, there was discussions, as they mentioned, how Romney was trying to convince his fellow Republicans to maybe consider something like this, and of course that wasn't going anywhere. So anytime reports come out, people complain all the time about things getting leaked, especially from the White House, maybe sometimes in the Senate. Hey, how could they actually let Bolton write a book? How could Bolton take notes before he leaves the White House and then be so disloyal to this president? I'm not sure if it was leaked or reported that Mitt Romney was trying to convince other senators to vote his way. No Republicans were upset about that leak because that's okay to leak that stuff because it makes him look good. And then after Susan Collins came out, oh man, there's some reasonable Republicans in there. It's not totally across the board, everyone just in lockstep. There's a couple people who are thinking about how much they enjoy American exceptionalism and our democracy. But once it comes down to this point, and you see how Susan Collins said, oh, I can say it now, even though Lamar Alexander hinted it. I remember his name came up. I said, why do we care that Lamar Alexander might vote in favor of witnesses? Because why would we believe that?
That was possible. Yeah, and
we're there for cover, that's why.
Alexander, I mean, this is the crazy thing about Alexander. He's retiring, right? And I saw a thread by Tim Alberta, who is with Politico, and he was actually one of the moderators at the LA debate. And he says, well, yeah, even though Alexander's retiring, he still wants a post-Senate career, and he wants to be able to hit up members, and he can't do go scorched earth on the Republican Party. Do you know how old Lamar Alexander is?
He is. I'm gonna guess 81.
He is 79 years old.
Okay. He actually looks pretty good for 79.
Does he need a post-Senate career?
Yeah.
Go home and hang out with your grandkids.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is true across the board. Bob Dole is confined to a wheelchair, 96 years old, and he's still lobbying.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a post-Senate career is lobbying.
Yeah,
that's
Lamar
what that is.
Alexander, really, I couldn't agree more. Spend time with your grandkids while they are young enough that they won't understand how much of a craven a-hole you are. How you sold out your country and your values to support literally one of the worst public figures in the history of our nation. And thankfully for you, you will have passed away before they understand who you really are. Lamar Alexander, he's gonna be reasonable. Maybe Romney. Romney doesn't need the hall pass. Like Romney could do whatever he wants. He's in basically a stronghold effectively.
That's true.
Maybe he actually, like he's a big enough figure, whatever. I don't care, it doesn't matter. We got 2 and we would have only gotten 1 if it actually mattered. Watching the vote come in and watching all of these Republicans just in terms, nope, not thinking about it. Because they know that our system has degraded to the point where there will be no consequences. In the Republican Party, you can just effectively say, Trump is all powerful. It's an accurate assessment of the hold that he has over 32% of the country. They are terrified of him. And nothing that you think about America, our democracy, our Constitution, and the great ideas of the founders, none of that can stand up to a Senate majority that we only have because the Senate is, by its very nature, as unrepresentative as possible. It's getting worse literally every year in America. he holds enough people that he can challenge them in a primary, so they will allow him to do anything. This time it's election interference, but honestly, he's been accused of worse crimes that they don't pay attention to. He's been credibly accused of rape. They don't give a damn about that. Where would the line be drawn? I know we're supposed to assume that there is still some line.
So,
what is that line?
One of our writers over at the American Prospect, prospect.org, Alexander Salmon, had a piece today about essentially what this impeachment says, not just about politics, but about our culture in general. That we have this anything goes, LOL, nothing matters culture if you're rich and powerful. And it's not just impeachment, although I think after 230 plus years, we can say that impeachment doesn't exist. It's not a remedy. Right. As long as you need 67 senators, you're never going to get that in a partisan environment, in a two-party environment. But it's more than that. It's the CIA torture program going unpunished. It's the bankers on Wall Street who crashed the economy going unpunished. This is the culture. And it's true about the Trump era, but it's been true before the Trump era. And that, I think, more than anything, is what this signifies, this two-tiered system of justice that we have in America.
Yeah, we were talking about how things haven't changed that much. I mean, I was mentioning just before we came on how, the American exceptionalism, at least the talk about how great we are, and then we don't back it up with our actions, is actually nothing new. It's just it's more highlighted now because Trump is so bad at it, or doesn't care about covering for his actions. He just does it and then goes, well, it doesn't matter, I'm the president, I can do what I want. And now the folks who used to maybe hide it and cover for it have to openly cover for things that are blatantly being done in front of Americans' faces, so it looks worse.
Well, I mean, look what Alexander and Rubio said in their statements. I agree that he did all of this. I stipulate to everything that the House manager said. I'm just not going to impeach him for it.
Yeah,
I'm not going to remove him for it.
Yeah, we have the video, and I have some of the Lamar Alexander tweets. It feels like it would be so stupid to actually read it at this point. Like it would be, I would be taking it more seriously than either of those senators combined take this entire process. To even put Rubio's stupid, conniving face on the screen would feel like a dereliction of duty. My duty as a stupid online host, which I apparently take more seriously than the majority of the senators in our country. Look at his stupid little grin. Like, yeah, I know it looks a little bit pathetic, but I'm just gonna keep my head down, and in 8 years I'm gonna run for president again. That's what he thinks. And honestly, it might even work.
Well, that's
all of their schemes.
That's what he's betting on. And I know you don't want to go through, but there's a couple things I highlighted that point out for me from Alexander's statement. He started by saying, no need for more evidence to prove that the president asked Ukraine to investigate Biden and his son. We admit to it, as you pointed out. So if you're admitting that it was done, and by the way, I'm sorry, the second part of that, there's no need for more evidence to conclude that he did that he withheld United States aid, at least in part to pressure Ukraine to investigate the Bidens. So you're admitting that it was done. Fine, whatever. Cool. But then the reason we don't need to go through this whole process of witnesses is because he has a constitutional prerogative to protect confidential conversations with his close advisors. Which conversation would be revealed from Bolton that is so close because he was an advisor, except that maybe all this was done strictly for his own benefit. So if you want the conversation to be held secret, fine. Except that it's gonna reveal exactly what you said didn't happen. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, I never said that, I never withheld aid. Remember, that's how we started. Perfect conversation. How many times do we hear a perfect conversation? Now we're saying it wasn't a perfect conversation, but we can't hear the conversation in reality because it'll actually expose him as the liar that he was. You can't continue to move your lies as they get exposed and say, well, fine, you exposed that one, but I don't care. Yeah. That's the answer. So if you're giving up the conversations that are the prerogative of the president, you can't just cover it and say it's fine.
Yeah. Well, and in this particular area, like my worry is obviously I take trying to interfere with an election seriously. I know that's an increasingly unpopular position to take. I still kind of think it's important.
In the Senate, it's unpopular.
Exactly.
Maybe not anywhere else.
By a lot of people, actually. All the people who have been like, why are you paying attention to this? This whole impeachment's so stupid. Honestly, you're gonna get mad about this? No, just let the president accrue more and more power, always more and more power. That'll be fine. I'm sure later on presidents will be more responsible. But think about how fast, even just in this area, things have moved. that the Mueller report came out and not 100%, but effectively was like, well, on collusion, no, not super strong evidence of collusion, partially because the entire thing was obstructed. We never actually talked to the people involved with it, but fine. And they were like, well, look at that. He didn't actually collude. Then like a day later, he has the interview with Stephanopoulos, where he asks him, so what if you could work with this time around, work with a foreign power? And he's like, yeah, I'd probably do that. And the response is, well, he says he'll do that, but he wouldn't actually do that. Now it's, oh yeah, no, he totally tried to do it, but you shouldn't care about that either. It is like things are falling apart literally on a week by week basis. Internally inconsistent arguments falling apart, supposed values, institutional norms, all of that is falling apart in real time. And later on, we're gonna have like the Rick Santorum argument that like, oh, Trump is gonna be chastened after being impeached and all that. How, like the fact that people could still be this either naive and stupid or corrupt and lying. Such a depressing day.
I mean, part of that is that why would he have been chastened by the 30 other things that, we have lobbyists and foreign governments streaming into the Trump hotel. Why would he be chastened by anything that's gone on in the last 3 years, number one. Number two, I'm gonna try to give you a silver lining.
Okay.
Try to give you a silver lining. At least we don't have the John Bolton welcome to the resistance party of hearing him testify and hearing him become a hero of the left. John Bolton, the guy who wants us to move headlong into a meat grinder in Iran.
That is true. That is a good silver line. And let me briefly say, so like, there's been this thing. I understand that some people are incredibly comfortable of coming to grips with what Trump and has been doing over the past few years, covering it. Like some people are like, why are you paying attention to this? I mean, he's only the most powerful person in the world. No, but seriously, a lot of people say that. And I love that you just pointed that out, because all along the way, as people drop out from paying attention or covering it, who is left to cover it? Hypothetically, the resistance folks in government, in media, Rachel Maddow, and isn't she so frustrating? Why does she focus on the things that she focuses on? I'm not gonna do that, let her do that. But then you are ceding all of that incredibly important territory, that role as a watchdog, to people that you think are not up to the task. We can't do that. We have to provide an alternative. And as more and more people are getting politically activated and understanding things about our current government, but bigger economic and social things that have been changing, how can that be the only thing we allow them to see news through as the filter? If we cede all of that territory to people that we think are in their own way corrupt and not up to the task, then we are damning all of the people who will be coming into this cycle. Some just naturally as the years go by, but others as a result of the fact that a lot is going on, we're ceding all of that territory to them. It is on us to make sure that we provide a counterpoint, that when John Bolton suddenly appears as a big national figure, we don't just hug him, we acknowledge what he said and we acknowledge who he is, especially if we don't trust that the rest of the people in the media are going to do that. That's our job and we have to do it.
That's the whole thing about embracing John Bolton is something that's fueled by Republicans, that they said it beforehand. They're like, oh my God, if this guy gets a chance to talk, we're gonna have to, well, not we're gonna have to, we're saying, hey, you libs suddenly love John Bolton, when actually what happened was suddenly conservatives hated John Bolton. He's a liar, a snake in the grass, disloyal, turn on your president, un-American. They went in on John Bolton right before they said how much libs are gonna accept him, which yes, there'll be a certain percentage of libs that will accept him, and that will be very frustrating. Ellen will be sitting next to him at a football game in 4 years, and then we'd be frustrated by that. Now, but then that's what forces so many Democrats in general to have to preface everything they say. Every stance that a Democrat has to say, now by the way, I knew he was a bad guy, but in this particular instance, he did this one thing that actually progressed the truth. Anytime, if there's a bank robbery, if there's a drive-by and someone was in the back seat and said, hey, Johnny was in the front and he shot, I'm not going to jail for 25 years over this. Are the police gonna say, hey, Malcolm, sitting in the back seat, how dare you rat on your boy? Or will they say, hey, Malcolm, thanks for providing this evidence so we can get to the bottom of the crime and actually find out who did this? You use people who were part of the crime, who rat out the other ones all the time.
I mean, that's true. Look, to the extent there's a resistance, it starts Monday night in Iowa. I mean,
There's your silver lining.
Robert Mueller is not walking through that door. John Bolton's not walking through that door. Lamar Alexander's not walking through that door. The Marshal of the Supreme Court is not walking through that door. This is going to be on us to go through the electoral process, as flawed as it is, and run up enough votes that it can't be taken. And that's the only way you're going to get this out in the short term. That's the only way that Trump is going to leave office. So we know that now. We've now had 3 years of oh boy, something's going to happen next. It's not going to happen. So let's go to Iowa and let's keep going.
And then the next step of that being, now we have to be even more vigilant about our electoral process, because we've just opened the door to allow him to do what he wants in this upcoming campaign. So now, anytime someone, say you do find something, say you do see him doing similar things, and someone says, hey, Trump's at it again, you know what they're gonna say? You guys pulled this 4 years ago, and you pulled it all through 2019. Right. We don't wanna listen to you anymore. That's what it sets it up for. So now, even when there's another legitimate accusation or proof, as we've already seen, oh, it's just you guys complaining again.
And I'm hoping, just like you, Sanders is the nominee. I think he has a very good chance it's gonna happen, and Trump is gonna do all sorts of underhanded stuff to him. And some of it, hopefully, we'll be able to identify as underhanded, and the media hopefully won't take the bait, but some of it maybe not. And maybe it will have an effect on the election. We'll see, I don't know. But by the way, if you get a minute, maybe during this break, because we're about to take a break, Sarah Smith, who was an awesome progressive candidate in this last cycle, she has a tweet thread about one of the things she wants out of a Sanders presidency that I could not agree more with, and it is that we have always allowed a Republican gets into office, he accrues more powerful. Then a Democrat replaces him, accrues even more powerful. Sanders has to do a lot of things. I don't envy him the to-do list he has. One is to put into effect, through whatever means necessary, the most rock hard, reliable, not norms, not traditions, actual reliable, concrete limitations on executive power that will last longer than he does in the presidency. We desperately need it, and we can't trust almost anyone else to ever do it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.